Broadcasting, the boisterous part of the fastest game in the world. So strap on your lids and lace them up, Rook. You're listening to the Barn Chirpers Hockey Podcast. Take a lap! Clap it up, boys! Clap it up in the car. Whether you're listening to us at home, in the car, at the office, on a road trip, on a plane, we are the Barn Chirpers, as you know. You can listen, subscribe on all your podcasting platforms. On YouTube, if you're watching us, I'm in my car right now. That's pretty cool, right? At Barn Chirpers Pod on the Instagram and the threads. Again, subscribe, leave us a comment, 5-star review. We would appreciate it. Captain, what's happening, buddy? How we doing today?
So before we get into anything pertinent, before we get into the week's news, I want to make you a little jealous. I don't know if you've seen this. Tina is going on like a bender of a roadie. They're going to the Winter Classic is Vegas and Seattle, right?
Yeah.
So they're going to that. Then they're going to Arizona. Then they're going to San Jose. Then they're going to Anaheim. And then they're going to Seattle.
That's literally, when I go to the West Coast, the exact trip that I want to do.
Me too. Exactly.
That is awesome.
Yeah. So I thought I'd throw that out there because they sent that out on the Twitter last night. And I woke up to that and I was like, well, I'm happy for you, but I am super jealous.
I'm very jealous. Yeah, that's the exact road trip that I would do. If I go to the West Coast, and I might even throw Colorado in there too if the timing works out, because why wouldn't you just knock them all out in one trip, I mean, that's like 2 weeks. That's like a 2-week trip, but that's pretty awesome. They make me very jealous. So,
very much so.
I feel like that's a chirp at us. Like, you're going to do a roadie? This is how you do a roadie.
Yeah, right. Very, very jealous.
But I'm here for it. But that is definitely a heater of a road trip. And today, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be talking about the best heaters right now, a pass or shoot segment for the best teams in the NHL over the last 10 games. We're also going to talk about some notable ups and downs of teams, and if we expected it and who we think is surprising in those aspects. We're also going to talk a little Patty Kane. Where is he going to go? What team is he going to land on? Is it going to make a difference? And then maybe we're going to pull the goalie and talk about the PWHL maybe a little bit. So we'll see what happens. Maybe we'll see what happens if we get to it, if there's enough time.
Yep.
So with that said, Captain, I know this might hurt you a little bit, but speaking of heaters, I'm going to run down this list of teams that have been on a heater the last 10 games. The Rangers are 8-1-1. The Capitals are 8-1-1. The Florida Panthers are 8-2-0. Vancouver Canucks are 7-3. Dallas Stars 7-3. The Carolina Hurricanes 7-3. The Boston Bruins 7-1-2, and the LA Kings are also 7-1-2. Justin, who on that list is surprising that they're on such a heater over the last 10 games to you?
I don't think it's a surprise, man. I think you probably have the same answer too. Your Washington Capitals at 8-1-1.
Yeah, it's hard not to pick. It's hard not to be the homer pick here, but truly, I've said since the offseason and into the preseason, into the start of this season, the first 20 games, I'm like, the Caps are probably not going to be that good for the next couple of years. And all of a sudden, again, over the last 10, they're 8-1-1 while having a negative goal differential, I might add. They don't score a lot of goals, but somehow defense is just been the name of the game, and they've been able to sneak out obviously 8 wins. So great goaltending. And you know why? It's because Darcy Kemper hasn't been in the net. Number one, they've had Lindgren and they've had the new guy, Stevenson. Anyway, that's a whole other story. But yeah, man, it's surprising that they are on a 10-game heater like that, 8-1-1. Do I think it'll continue? It's probably going to catch up to them at some point because you have to score goals to win a game. Go figure. And having a negative goal differential is not going to – they can't continue to do that, I don't think. And once they play some, they did beat Vegas though, so I was going to say once they play teams like Vegas, we'll see what happens. But they already beat Vegas, so I guess we'll see. I take back everything I said. I guess we're going to see. I have no idea anymore.
The thing is that so they clearly match up well with the faster finesse teams like your Vegases, your New Jerseys. They've beaten the Devs twice. So it's the physical play that the back end, the defense that's going to keep them around. Like you said, do they have the gas? As long as Faravari and Carlson stay on the ice, you got to feel like they're what does that amount to? I don't like their chances in a 7-game series, but man, like they have the talent. So other than the 2 wins against my Devils, I'm here for Washington Capitals being alive this far into the season.
Yeah, I mean, well, to that same point, like you said, Faravari's actually been out a couple of games, but that kid that they acquired at the trade deadline last year from the Maple Leafs, Rasmus Sundin, has kind of stepped up and sort of filled that role. Not as physical of play, but in a scoring aspect. He's put up some points on the board too. So, yeah, it's definitely surprising. Another one that, it's surprising to me because we've talked about how are they going to survive having all their guys out, but the Florida Panthers are just strumming along like nothing. None of these injuries have mattered. Truly, they are just playing the exact same kind of hockey that they played in the playoffs, and they're just still on this run, and they're getting scoring from guys that, again, your Sam Reinhart's, your Sam Bennett's are back. I forget the kid's name. It'll come to me, but they're just kind of getting scoring from so many guys. Like Matty Tkachuk's only scored, I think, 3 goals this year, so he's not even really scoring. You're getting production from other guys, and man, now that Ekblad and Montour are about to come back, OEL is showing up. He's kind of looking like the 10 years ago OEL. That's going to be trouble in the Atlantic if they keep this up.
Just the whole East is kind of, we'll get more into this. The whole East is kind of up in the air. Like it's topsy turvy, like 4 points really. Like there's only like 1 or 2 teams are out of it. Like everybody's kind of involved, but I haven't gotten to see much Florida hockey, but like that's definitely system. Like that's coaching, because if you can lose that many players and just still go out there and play Florida Panthers hockey, that says, hey, we've been coached up the right way, and we're not going to be beat. We're just going to go out there and play our way. But yeah, like I guess maybe, yeah. I mean, to your point, you get all those injuries, you assume maybe 500 hockey. And nah, man, like they haven't missed a step.
And even, to that same point, Bob isn't necessarily playing out of this world, and he's not playing bad. He's just kind of being a decent goalie, which, hey, we've said this on this show many times. A lot of the times you just need a decent goalie that's going to stop the pucks he's supposed to stop, and the rest of the team can take care of it. And that's pretty much what's happening. And again, 8-2 in their last 10. And again, now they're going to have their guys back. Watch out, man. They might, I don't know. It's still very early, but with this type of play, doing this well without your guys, if you can keep that up, all of a sudden you're looking at that top spot in the Atlantic. I mean, they're number 2 right now, right behind the Boston Bruins. So, hey, we've been a Panthers, not necessarily a Panthers podcast since the playoffs, but we've shown them a whole lot of love since this show started. So, like you said, kind of giving the Caps their flowers. I'm here for it for the Panthers, and let's go Cats. I'm here for it.
Let's do it.
Do you have another one on the heaters that you are impressed by, or didn't see it coming?
Kind of like, I don't know that we need to necessarily get too deep here, but like the Canes, like, because I feel like they haven't hit their stride. It's weird. Like every time I watch the Canes, they don't look like the Canes. And, last year, anytime I turned on a Canes game, it was just frustrating defense, like just fast and lots of shots. And I feel like they haven't done that, but they're still going out there, unlike the Devils, going out there and winning hockey games. So I think it shouldn't shock me that the Canes are there, but it is kind of based on the way they've played, if that makes any sense at all.
Yeah, you definitely said what I was going to bring up. Actually, I was surprised to see. I check the scores every day, so it wasn't necessarily that they were out of my peripheral, but to actually see like 7-3, I thought they were worse than that over the last 10. But yeah, same. I you expect them to be good, but yeah, for some reason I thought that they were not this good over the last 10. So, they've been the favorite in the Metro, so they're kind of just continuing to put that stamp on without without Freddie Anderson, their number one goaltender. So, that's all I have for it. Like it's the Canes, so they kind of just continue to do what they've been doing. So the next part of this segment, I think we're going to go right into the notable upswings over the last 10 teams that, man, we've either talked sort of down on them or, don't expect much from. Notable upturns over the last 10 games. First one I'm going to hit you with, Justin, probably is going to shock you the most. The St. Louis Blues are 6-4 over the last 10. What?
So, yeah, right. And they don't make sense either, because
not at all.
1 week they'll beat the Devils 4-1, and then the next they're getting blown out by the Sharks. Like I don't understand this Blues team at all, and they're not fun to watch either. I've watched a couple Blues games because I see them win a game and I'm like, oh, let's see what's going on there. Not fun. Like it's not. They're not playing good hockey. I can't explain it. I don't know what's going on out there in St. Louis.
Yeah, I haven't watched any of their games, but seeing this, I was shocked truly to see that they're 6-4. Another team that's 6-4 that I have seen a bit of is the Philadelphia Flyers at 6-4 over the last 10, Justin. We've talked about it many, many times that Torts coaches his teams up. You will not, if you don't play your butt off when you're playing for Torts, you will sit. He's shown that in the past. And this team, they're playing their butts off, and obviously they're winning games that they have really no business of winning. And I want to read this. I'm going to have to go away here on the screen if you're watching real quick. I asked Corey this question. I said, Corey, how do you feel about the Flyers being too good this year that they don't get a high lottery pick? He said, very mixed feelings. Corey said, and I quote, very mixed feelings. It's almost playoff appearance or bust, though. The worst thing you can be is stuck in the middle in any sport. And that's true. I like that the squad's been this solid without Gauthier, though. But another lottery pick to go along with him and Michkov would be effing sweet, too. At least if you sneak into the playoffs, you feel like the rebuild is way ahead of schedule. And I do agree with that. My only... did you lose me? Am I still there?
Did you hear me? You're here. Yep.
Okay, cool. Sorry. My only retort to that is that even still, like, I think a young team like the Flyers have, if they have that kind of, wow, we're in a playoff push type of, feeling throughout the year and into the end of the year, that's great experience. But again, I feel like it's almost setting your team back in the rebuild to be good. You're losing out on a high lottery pick. Like anything more than the essentially bottom 10 in the league, I think. So, 1 through 10 from the bottom, you know what I mean? Lottery pick. I feel like it's kind of setting you back because you're not really going to get a great player. And again, you just got Michkov last year. I think you need another really, really good player from 1 to 10 to add to that over the next couple of years. But I do love to see it because you don't expect the Flyers to be this good. So I'm here for it. I'm just saying, I feel like it could be detrimental to them overall.
And one of the points he made is like, do they have the gas? The same question we have for the Caps. Do they have the gas to make it a full 82 at this clip? I don't know. I mean, I like the way they match up with most of the league. Like when you watch them, when they play that physical, again, your teams like Vegas had trouble with them. When the Devs play them, if they don't get their act together, they're going to have trouble with them. Those faster teams that rely on finesse and aren't as physical, it's going to be a problem. And I think no, go ahead.
No, I mean, I was just kind of going to double on that from what you just said. Whenever I see whoever the Flyers are playing, I don't get the initial feeling like, oh, they're not going to win that game. I literally don't have that thought at all.
Yeah. They can go out there and skate with just about everybody. And I mean, they've only gotten blown out like maybe twice. They had the one game against Anaheim where they got, I think it was 6-2. But they've shown up. My biggest thing would be like at the trade deadline. I mean, what do they do? Because if at this point they're buyers, but what do they buy and what do they have to sell to be able to buy? Like, I don't know that they have anything worth.
You can't start getting rid of draft capital. That's for sure.
Right. You can't if you're them. Like they need every draft pick. So, the question remains, do they have the gas? I don't know. My inclination is yes. But I think to hammer home your point, I think unfortunately for Flyers fan, this is actually bad for the club.
Agreed. The last couple that are on a couple of notable upturns, the Jets 6-2-2. I think that's just interesting because they kind of had a really slow start and now they seem to be finding their game. Same thing for the Calgary Flames. They have started to turn it around 5-3-2. Not great. Essentially, that's 500 hockey, but you did get those 2 overtime points in those losses, but that was much better than the previous 10. So have they found their game yet? I think that remains to be seen for the Calgary Flames. Do you have anything on those 2 Canadian teams, the Jets and the Flames?
Jets are frustrating to watch. I'll say that because again, one of those wins came against my New Jersey Devils, so I got to see them play. They're frustrating to watch them play against, but I think we were a man down there, at least one man down. I think we may have been down both our top centers. So I don't know that I can say too much about that. Flames hockey, not fun to watch. I wish it was because I love the Calgary Flames, but it's just not fun to watch. That's like the only thing I can really say about the Flames.
I agreed. And then the Pens are also 6-4 over this last 10. Kind of the same thing that I just said. Better than their previous 10, but still kind of figuring it out. I mean, Crosby is lighting the lamp a lot in the goal category and also the assists. But you kind of expect that from him. He's supposed to lead the team, and he's doing it. He's still doing it after all this time. So 6-4 over the last 10. I see that, again, not that I'm praising the Pens because, but you expect him to lead that team, and he's doing it. So in that aspect, when we talk about superstar talks, like there's the guy, right? Like he's a superstar, bona fide. So, okay, the last part of this segment that we don't really want to talk about, but we need to. Notable downturns. The Vegas Golden Knights 5-4-1. The Anaheim Ducks 5-5. Your New Jersey Devils, Justin, 5-5. The Detroit Red Wings 3-5-2. And the Yotes are also 4-4-2. Who on that list? Obviously the Devs, but who besides the Devs are you most surprised about on that notable downturn over the last 10?
I think surprisingly not Vegas, even though Vegas is the one that kind of jumps out. Like they just started off like super polished and
yeah, sure. Yep.
You figured they were going to hit a slump at some point. I think it's the Wings, man. Like I've watched the Wings play and they are really fun to watch. They play really good, solid hockey. I don't know what's going on there. Like, maybe they just overperformed in the first 10 and now we're just kind of seeing where they actually are. But I think it's the Wings.
Yeah, my kind of side homerism was going to say the Yotes because they were playing so good against really good teams. But really the Yotes kind of, to me, truly they fall into, well, that's kind of where they're at right now. They're going to get on a little bit of a streak and then they're going to kind of come back down to earth while they're still figuring things out. So that's not actually really that surprising to me. Same thing for the Ducks. We were really high on them. They won 6 in a row. And now all of a sudden they're, 500 hockey over this last 10, which I think is about where they're at, truly. Um, they have a young squad and guys that are still trying to figure things out. So I think that's probably where they land. I agree with you with the Wings. It's just, man, they got off to such a hot start, like you said. And again, kind of just when you run, if you go for running any distance, let's say a 5K, and you go out of the gates as hot as you can, by about halfway you might be gassed a little bit. So the Red Wings might have gassed themselves out a little bit this early on.
You hate to see it, but like I don't see any other way around that. But I mean, the rest of these names, you kind of expect them. The devs out 3 big stars, and actually, crazily enough, they beat Pittsburgh this week 5-2 without Timo, without Jack, without Nico.
That's a good win.
And also, even though they lose to the Rangers 5-3 on a very stupid penalty, too many men on the ice, they played both of those games really well, probably the best 2 games that they've played. So, like, is panic mode for me yet? No, not quite. You hate to see it because you want to see the boys win, but like you look at those 10 games, and most of that has been a combination. Hate to blame it on injuries, but it's the reality. Jack, Nico, Timo have been out for a portion of those 10 games. So, I mean, it's unfortunate, but true.
Yeah, no, I'd have to agree with you. And really, it just comes down to, we talked about this last week, you just got to step up. You got to step up and, hey, injuries happen to everybody. And it just so happens that this is a very untimely where 3 of your big stars are out, but next man up, you got to figure it out,
Curtis Lazar, my friend, has stepped up huge. Colin Miller stepped in in the game against Penguins, first time he got on the ice this year, and our defense has looked fantastic with Colin Miller in the lineup. So, we went 1-1 in those 2 games, but they've looked better than they have all season. So it is what it is.
So, Justin, I'm going to hit you with this pass or shoot here. So I'm going to go over all 3 of these categories and give you a pass or shoot. Okay. So I think the first 2 on the heaters are really easy. So I'm going to go with Justin. Will the Florida Panthers continue on a heater like an 8-2 over 10 games, pass or shoot? Will that continue?
I'm going to pass, I'm sorry, I'm going to shoot. Like, this is how many times did they prove me wrong last year? It's that same situation. Prove me wrong, and then I don't want to. They've made me look stupid a lot over the last year, so I'm going to shoot on the Panthers continuing.
I'm going to also shoot, considering what how I coached or talked to them up earlier. They're going to get their guys back. I think they're only going to get better, which is scary for everybody else in the Atlantic. Pass or shoot, Justin. The Detroit Red Wings continue to falter at a 3-5-2 over the last 10 games.
I think.
How do the next 10 games look? Pass or shoot?
Man,
Actually, sorry. Let me stop you. Let me give you a better pass or shoot. So this last 10 games, they were 3-5-2. The next 10 games, Justin, will be 500 hockey, pass or shoot.
Unfortunately, I got to shoot. I mean, I think a lot is going to ride on how I think they're playing the Devils tonight. So, I think a lot is going to ride on that game, how they look in that game. If they look I just don't. I think they're just cool right now. I think they have a push in them. I just don't think it's yet. So I'm shooting on 500 hockey from the Wings.
I also have to shoot on that. I don't think they're better than 500. Really, I would say it's probably under. But, actually, no, I'm going to change my answer. I'm going to say pass because I think it's going to be worse. I think they're going to be less than 500 over the next 10, looking at this trend. And the last one, Justin, pass or shoot, the Calgary Flames are better than 500 over the next 10.
Okay, better than I'll pass. I mean, you take the wins no matter how you get them. I can't imagine any of these were just good, solid Calgary hockey. I got to imagine they got some puck luck. Again, you take the wins however you get them. But watching Calgary play, not fun. It doesn't look like good hockey. I think they are just getting the right bounces, right calls. Like, they're a sub 500 team to me. So yeah, I think they go under 500. So pass.
Even with Huberdeau and Kadri finally scoring, I'm also going to pass. I feel like there's too much going on probably in that locker room and in this team for them to actually be successful. There's, we don't have to go into it. Zadorov already spoke out about wanting to be traded. We already know other guys want to be traded and don't want to be there. There's so much toxicity going on in that locker room, I feel right now. So I'm going to pass. I'm say also, yeah, sub 500 hockey. So that's been our pass or shoot for this week. You want to you want to talk about some hot stars, some heaters, some other heaters, some single player heaters?
Let's do it. And it should be noted, we know that Crosby is on a heater himself, but we expect that from him. So
like I just said, yep.
Yeah, this podcast wants to note a little tip of the cap. You're playing well, but that's not what this is about.
That's right. Take it away, man. I feel like this is kind of 7 degrees of Kevin Bacon, your guy here for the third star of the week.
So look, I'm trying to look at his actual stats here, but I mean, he's a Hughes brother. He gets in because we bump out Crosby, but Quinn Hughes in Vancouver, what is it? He's got 7 points this week. So 4 games
3
played,
goals, 4 assists, 7 points.
There we go. And he's a reason they gave him the C this year. He's one of the reasons that Vancouver's playing so well. So a little love for Quinn Hughes.
And again, technically Sid the Kid is above Quinn Hughes with 5 goals, 2 assists, and 7 points as well. But again, we expect that from Sidney Crosby. He's been doing it for 19 years. We expect that from him. So props to Sidney Crosby, but Quinn Hughes is our third star of the week this week. Our second star of the week, again, kind of a guy that I feel it's weird to say that he's underrated, but we never really talk about Pasta that much. But Pasta's second star of the week this week. 2 goals, 6 assists, Justin, 8 points. Assists are not usually, apples are not usually he's usually bringing them goals. So it's second star of the week. And you know how I started with that by saying it's weird that a 60 goal scorer is underrated, but truly we never really talk about him. And I don't really feel the hockey world talks about him a lot. So give him his flowers here. 2 goals, 6 assists, 8 points.
It's because we hate the bees.
That is true.
It's just pure hatred of the bees. But I mean, you hit on a very important stat here, the 6 apples. That's not usually his jam. And here's a team, the Boston Bruins, we brought them up in the heater 7-1-2 in the last 10. This is a team that we talked about going in. We thought they were going to take a major step back. And in some ways they've not only laughed at us and made us look really dumb. They've almost gotten better somehow. So, and Pasta's part of it, and then this week, 6 apples. What's bigger, better, and better than 6 apples though at first star?
What's that, Justin?
We called him a POS in one of our first episodes. Cale Makar, 9 apples this week, dude, for the Colorado Avalanche. In a week? 9? That's nuts.
Yeah,
that is crazy.
Yeah, we did. I definitely called him a piece of crud in the playoffs, and I stand by that. I'm not gonna take that back, but he still is a hell of a player, and especially for a defenseman. And 9 apples in a week, those are superstar numbers. And he is definitely a guy that you can throw the team on his back, and he's going to show up in the regular season, and he shows up in the playoffs too, which is like a superstar should. And this would be a perfect time for a superstar check-in, but I'm in my car on my phone, and there's too much swiping around to do on my phone. But just know that this would be a time for a superstar check-in, just so everybody knows.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we can do it in another way because we can put 5 minutes on the clock and we can go to the box, can't we?
We sure can. And this is a perfect time. See, that was really just a segue to set up this 5 minute major because speaking of superstars, love him or hate him, Patrick Kane is a superstar. Showtime has and always will be a superstar, truly. Last year, he signed with the New York Rangers, 1 year deal. Didn't really do much at all. And of course, the Rangers lost in the playoffs. But Patty Kane has come back again. His rehab is done on his hip resurfacing surgery. And there are some teams, Justin, that are in the mix to sign Patty Kane. One of them being those Florida Panthers that we just talked about. He's also been linked to the Detroit Red Wings, the Buffalo Sabres, Toronto Maple Leafs, and the Dallas Stars, Justin. So, where do you think? Two questions for you. Number one, where does Patty Kane sign? And number two, will it make a difference?
Uh, golly. Um,
I should
there's a-
say the New York Rangers were also in talks, but that doesn't seem like that's going to play out. That's a very end range option, from what I understand at this point.
uh, my my gut says Buffalo because Buffalo's underperformed and they probably need a shot in the arm. I think if he lands in Buffalo, it does make a difference.
That's also
Like
his home.
so, maybe he gets a hometown discount there. Um, Tuck, I have him in fantasy and he's been an utter disappointment so far this year, like droppable. And the only reason I'm not is because of his name. So I've really gone to drop Alex Tuck like God knows how many times. But they desperately need a shot in the arm because we didn't bring them up in the heater talk, and they were a team both of us were really high on going into this season, and they are just kind of there right
Yeah.
now.
Yep.
So my gut says Buffalo because it kind of was the favorite going into the season, and by the way they played, they kind of need it. So I think I'm sticking with Buffalo.
I my heart would love Buffalo for Patrick Kane to go to Buffalo. Um, Again, like you said, that would be such a shot in the arm. The only thing that I guess I would see from that is he would kind of almost be dependent on too much in that situation. And I don't know that Patty Kane at 34, 35, after just having hip resurfacing surgery, can be that guy to depend on. Again, I would love to see it because I'm here for the Sabres to do great things. I would love to see it. My gut, though, is telling me my gut's telling me the Cats. I think he's going to Florida because again, what they've shown being able to perform, like we talked about in the heater segment, they've been able to perform without top guys. So for Patty Kane to drop into that lineup, second or third line, that gives them a real favorite shot, I think, to go at least compete, be a cup contender, I'd say.
Uh, Yeah, and I think to your point about when I said Buffalo, like they're not going to need as much from him. Like he can go out there and underperform and it won't be that big of a deal. Or he can go out there and he can slot in nicely on like a second or third line and just kind of eat up minutes and put a few in that is just enough. I'd be curious to see what that looks like. Um, but I guess maybe I'm just homering too much for Buffalo. I know they're not my squad, but like,
No, I
I
get
just,
it.
yeah, I
I, I
hope
would
it.
love to see Patty Kane be dishing Tage Thompson the puck so he can start scoring. I mean, I know Tage is injured right now, unfortunately, but Patty Kane dishing to Tage Thompson? Oh, are you kidding me? That's a
But
60
like,
goal season, Tage.
and I would hate to see. I'll leave it at this because we're ticking down here the last couple seconds, and I'll ask you the same team. I don't want him to land on Dallas Stars. How about you?
Yeah, well, so when I picked Florida, but I think everything I said about Florida, if he landed in Dallas, could essentially be the same thing, like surrounded by a whole lot of talent. But yeah, I don't actually want to see him in Dallas because I'd rather see I'd rather see Dallas, the Dallas that we know over the last couple of years. I want to see them do it without like a Patrick Kane type superstar, right? I want to see him do it with Pavelski, Robertson, and Hintz. Like that's what I want to, and Ottinger. That's what I want to see them win the cup with. So that's what I'm going with. Florida.
Oh, a nice little sound for us.
We just made it.
We just made the 5
But
minutes.
the last thing on that, allegedly, rumors have it that we should know something by Black Friday. So day after Thanksgiving this week, we should know a little bit more about where Patty Kane's going. Allegedly.
All right. So I guess maybe we pull the goalie here then, huh? A couple notes.
Yeah, sure. Let's pull the goalie. Why not? Let's do it.
Why not? I don't know if we want to mention Lucic or not, but like if you need to know, Lucic is not a Bruin. I mean, he is, but he's not. You can look up the reasons why. Looks like he might be a POS.
Yeah, and I'm really glad I never got that sweater because I was going to get a sweater of his because I really liked past tense Lucic. But yeah, you can Google why we have this opinion. But yeah, you don't usually see that from hockey players, but we'll have to wait and see what actually comes out. But he's on an indefinite leave from the team, and depending on how it shakes out, could potentially never be in the league again. So,
and rightfully so. If that's the deal, then that needs to happen. Good on the Bees for making swift action, and that that's what I'll say about that. Another quick note. I hate to homer here, but since I've got the empty net, I'm doing it. Apparently Nico Hischier was on the ice for practice yesterday. So we got Jackie back last Saturday. Looks like we might have Nico back. I don't know what the timeline is for Timo, but I'm very happy to see Cap because that was a much huger loss than I thought for a Selke candidate. Like I just, our defense was already fumbling without our best defensive forward. Like we fumbled even more. So it'll be nice to see Nico back on the ice.
Yeah, I'm here for it. I don't have anything to add other than, again, the Devs are your team, but they're a young squad, so I like to see them do well. And again, they're essentially on the up and coming. So we always talk about new teams all the time. I would love to see them do well. So I think that's it. So if you're in America, happy American Thanksgiving tomorrow. Yeah, be safe out there. Enjoy the holidays. We are the Barn Chirpers, and we'll be back next week, of course, talking about more hockey and stuff. You know the drill. Go back, listen to all our past episodes, all that good stuff at Barn Chirpers Pod on the Instagram and the threads, and everywhere you can find podcasts, and on the YouTube. Just search Barn Chirpers Podcast. Without anything else, stick taps and sellies, boys. Clap it up.
Clap her up. End the recording.